We've just been having an argument about whether or not Europe has any future. The participants are 4 European students and 1 Australian. Let me introduce them to you now. From Australia is Elizabeth Ann Woodgate. She knows a lot about sheep farming, as a good Australian should, has a pet lamb named Polonius because he bleats all the time. Is that right? Romano Kuntz from Switzerland. Romano's father owns a large string of well-known butcher shops in Switzerland, and Romano, good piano player, wanting to be a diplomat,
more or less.
and I should say has a good start on languages. You speak 4 already, don't you, Romano?
Almost, yes.
Almost. From Italy, from Milan, is Francesco Brioschi. Francesco has seen more of the New York area in the last few days than most of us see in many months. Everything from the atomic laboratory to Wall Street.
Well, that's exact, yeah.
From Germany, Christoph Bertram. Christoph's father was in the German Air Force and now runs a large bus station in Flensburg. His mother, for a time after the war, was an interpreter for the British military government. Finally, Geneviève Martineau from France. Geneviève passed her baccalaureate, or half of it, last July with distinction. We're all hoping that her 3 months now in the United States won't keep her from the same honors when she passes the second half in France next July. Well, now, to get into this question of Europe, its future, I think we'd all like to know, first of all, what you really think about some of the other countries in Europe. I'm not asking your personal opinion, but Christoph, tell me, for example, what do German people think about France?
Well, you see, if you want a general opinion, it's not deep enough, and it'll be very superficial. For instance, they say, I take the people of my age group here, the youth hostels in France are dirty. And they say the girls in France are very pretty. And they say France was a great nation, but has almost collapsed now, and it's shown its weakness every day, and it's no real partner for, say, European unification.
Geneviève, what do people in France think about the Germans?
Well, as a whole, they're still resentful toward Germany, and they can't forgive all the cruelty which Germany has shown during the war. But maybe the time will make the things better. That's what we hope.
What about the Italians and the Swiss?
Well, we think that the Italian girls are very pretty, and we admire the Italian movies, and we think the Italians have a great sense of humor. And
what about the Swiss?
But they are lazy. Well, no, I mean the Italian. But what about the Swiss? Well, we think that these people don't have any events in their life and must be bored.
Italy, Francesco, do you want to react? What do Italians think about Germans?
Well, we generally like them, in spite of all. We generally dislike French and Englishmen, and there is a feeling pro-American now in Italy.
Why do you dislike Englishmen?
Well, I expect there's not a country in Europe which likes them. Unfortunately, I like them very much personally, but there is an anti-English feeling in Italy.
Romano, you're wanting to get into this.
We feel nothing when we see a Frenchman, that means a Swiss from the French part of Switzerland. We say, well, that's a Frenchman, but he speaks a bad German, well, but that's all. We think nothing else. We often say that Switzerland consists of the best part of Germany, the best part of France, and the best part of Italy. But generally spoken, well, we can say that we are happy as we are, and we see in another Swiss, whether he comes from Italian-speaking part or from the French-speaking part, we see another Swiss, and he speaks not the same language as we do, but that's the only difference.
Well, now, have you gotten enough off your chest on how you regard other peoples in Europe?
Well, I think it's only typical that you yourself can't judge really why you got an antipathy or a sympathy towards another nation. It's just there. It's just I don't think it's
prejudice.
It's prejudice that might have its roots not in major political events, but in quite, for instance, personal experiences.
Now, let's go back a bit to Europe before you were born. Who would you say are the 5 greatest men Europe has ever produced in all history?
Well, I say Machiavelli.
Machiavelli?
Thank you.
Shakespeare, of course.
Napoleon.
Napoleon.
Yes,
Oh, I would say Goethe.
Goethe?
Luther, and
one more.
Aristotle. Maybe.
Aristotle?
Aristotle,
And Socrates.
yeah.
How about Dante?
Well, I like him too, naturally.
I'm
Not so
Einstein.
bad.
Well, now, to bring it up to date, who would you say are the 5 greatest men in the whole world today?
Nehru.
In the whole world, not just Europe.
Still alive? Or
Still alive.
Still alive. Then I would say Albert Schweitzer.
Churchill.
Churchill, Albert Schweitzer,
Eisenhower.
Adenauer, interesting,
Einstein.
Einstein,
And Nehru.
who?
Nehru.
Nehru.
No.
Do you all agree on that?
Well,
Was, almost.
Mostly Europeans, one non-European.
Europeans, you see.
Now, to get more specific about this question of feelings of Europe, what would you say, in your personal experience, makes you feel more European, perhaps, than your parents do or did?
I should think first our trips abroad. We have more opportunities to learn languages and to go abroad than our parents had. And that's very important, I think, for the understanding.
Where have you been, Geneviève, outside of France?
To Germany and to England. And really these trips have been very interesting and have taught me much about these countries.
Well, if I should answer this, it'd be my parents that
Have made you feel European?
feel me more European than perhaps other people. And
Why do you say that, Christophe?
you see, I think an open-minded education is so much worth and gets you to look at things a little more from 2 points. And I think Europe is something you just gotta look from 2 points because it's too complicated and it's too full of feelings and emotions.
How about some, excuse me for interrupting, but how about some of the rest of you? Have you traveled, Francesco?
But I don't feel so European. I force me to feel like that. But in Italy, no one feels European now. There's nothing done in this sense. Nothing at all. I mean, our textbooks don't speak of Europe at all. You know that they generally end at 1922.
1922?
That's the point. And they generally end this way. They say that the last 30 years are not history, but life. Well, that's stupid enough, I think.
Well, do you, in Italy, do you want a united Europe?
I personally do want.
You do. You want a united Europe. And do you want all the countries who are red, European countries who are red, to be united with
Red
you?
is communism.
Yes, yes, I mean communist.
Well, not for the moment.
You
It's
don't-
not possible,
Well,
I
then it
mean.
wouldn't be a united Europe, would it?
Well, no, but not in this sense, but it would be something at least.
Europe is that's the difficulty just put there. Where can we put the eastern border of Europe? Where can we say it's finished here? You see, I myself am from Western Germany. We have the problem of divided Germany, and is a united Europe an obstacle on the way of unification of Germany?
Christophe, excuse me, Romana, I want to come back just a moment to the thing Francesco was saying about his textbooks. He said in Italy your history textbooks stop at 1922?
That's correct.
How about
yeah.
yours in Germany?
I think they have changed. You see, they got to change right after the war.
But I wondered if his, excuse me, I wonder if his stopped in 22 because that was when the fascist era began.
Well, that's right. We generally stop with the last war we've won, we see, so that we stop in 22. Germany stopped
clever.
before the First
Cunning.
World War, and France stopped before the Second World War.
How far have you gone in modern history in your textbooks, Geneviève?
Well, before I left France, we came to the period 1870, you know.
That's the period German history teachers like especially, because later on the ground is getting a little dangerous. And, I think that, I don't think it's just shown that they're not, haven't got courage enough to go there, but that their teaching is so much, themselves are so much of resentments in these times.
Now, are the
but-
Swiss,
Yeah, in Switzerland, our school books, they will go till 1950, even more sometimes. It depends on the reading. They are dull enough also, even now. But you see, as Switzerland has not entered, as Switzerland didn't.
See, in German.
No, I say it in English. As Switzerland hadn't had big alternatives
Yeah.
since the last war, therefore we
Changes.
needed to change. Our textbooks are good as they are now, and we saw the situation quite clear, and therefore we needn't change.
If the textbooks in Italy and France, at least, are a bit outmoded, what about your teachers? If the textbooks don't teach you about modern, present-day Europe, do your teachers help you in that sense at all, or are they...
They should.
Do they?
They should. Yes, yeah, but it depends on the teacher, whether he is able to or not.
Well, in Italy they should not, but they do. And they do without much profit, I must say, because those who do are generally fascist and do just a little bit of irony, you see, about the Americans.
That's the same in my country, not about the Americans, but the teachers have grown so very skeptical and cynical towards political events, that they, for instance, are not loyal enough to their government, that they just, in their lessons, put just a slight remark that might be as naive as possible, but always, I think it's the danger of influencing the kids in the class that don't know much about it, and that they're, by their almost nihilist point of view, say things that they really can't be responsible for.
You do feel that your teachers are cynical and nihilistic
Yes.
about politics?
Well, you see, I think we got to look at it from another point of view there. I haven't had two changes in their political system, 1933 and 1945. And they have seen that if you did something in under one political system, you were punished for it on the other. And so they're skeptical. And so they don't want to go with it. And they quite often, I'm not speaking of the teachers in general, but to my opinion of the majority, so they quite often keep in the back with just a few cynical approaches.
But I find that this is the most important things of the school books should be to clear us up about the situation that we have now. And we should know something where we are, which is the situation today, and how got we this situation.
That's not...
And this is important, that we should have this in school, and we have it.
Well,
I think
you can do that in Switzerland. Well, in Italy we can't, you see. We were fascist, you were not, you see the point. A teaching like that should arouse such a thought of bad feeling in Italy that it's absolutely not
I think
possible.
it's very easy for you to say everybody got to be taught up to the 1956.
I was wondering if one of you would pick up Francesco and ask him to explain when he said that some of the teachers today were fascists. Are there still fascists in Italy?
Well, the Constitution forbids fascism at all. But, you know, they can't just go into the mind of men, so that they say they are some strange kind of party, and they just teach fascism to us. But they are a slight minority, unfortunately.
Does it appeal to young people?
Well, a little bit. There is still some fascists now, I must say. There is a fascist party in Italy, which naturally doesn't call itself fascist, and which it's about 6% of the general population.
It's obvious now to ask you, Christoph, if there are still any Nazis in Germany.
No, I think I can say that there are no, at least not it's a question to the teachers. I don't think they have any political opinion, but they seem to feel interesting when they just say a few words, say a few remarks, and whatever silly they may be, and often are, they influence.
Now, let's leave schools for just a second and go on to other things. What else is there in the European atmosphere today that might help make people think more in terms of Europe and a united Europe than there was, say, before the war?
Communist Russia.
I should say, yes, that's right. The danger that we have to face, the danger that makes us feeling that we must gather, because we see we should face the danger that threatens Europe, and this, therefore, unity is not only possible, but even indispensable.
Well, what are some of the ways that you have begun to try to build unity, economically, politically?
Yeah, you got it. I think that's the most valuable thing that has been achieved.
What?
The economical achievements.
Well, what are you talking about
The Schuman
specifically?
Plan.
The Schuman
The
Plan.
Mountain Union, the European Payments Union, everything that has been done to let these countries that have been in a war, have had prejudices against each other.
Prejudices.
Prejudice, thank you. Cooperate, and I think that's and that is even popular because it'll lift the standard of living, and that is something that goes in the minds of the simple man. That
What
is
about
something which is-
military things?
I don't think that they
Do you
have
believe in
got-
a European army?
Well, I do as a temporary remedy against something. But, you know, I'm pretty sure that communist Russia is going to split somehow in the next 20 years, so that when the communist Russia danger is out, what's going to be of Europe if we only got a military alliance? Well, we need a political alliance, naturally.
And what are you going to do with the kings and queens if you're united politically?
Well, we've not got a queen nor a king in Italy.
But they have in
Just get
England.
rid
You
of
see,
it.
that's quite a different
But
question. That's
that's
not nothing
something
to
you
do with the
couldn't
army,
do.
really. But I think that could easily be solved because even nowadays, every country that has not got a queen or a king got a high representative, president of the Republic in France and in Germany, for instance, and you got some main figure that is representative of the whole state too.
Yeah.
These are taking the office that usually kings and queens have.
Yeah.
So,
Political rulers, a king and queen.
perhaps you know that
representative.
when Germany was united in 1870, there were a lot of feudal rulers in the countries, and they went on being there.
My friends, I think it's about time to find out what you mean by European. We've been talking for several minutes now about European. What do you mean exactly by Europe? What is Europeanism that you've been talking
Well,
about?
when I am asked such a question as this, then I would put another question. I would say, what is Switzerland? And then this is a plane where I can better speak. I would say Switzerland is an association of different countries, not of different countries, but of different peoples, with different races, with different creeds, and so on. But, and this is important, with some common aims: freedom of speech, freedom of creed, and above all, independence and mutual aid.
All right, let's
and
get somebody else.
That'd mean that Europe must be democratic, and Europeanism means mainly being democratic.
What does Europeanism
think-
mean to you,
Oh,
Christoph?
well, that's a question. Europeanism is an idea that means that people want to achieve that everything should be pure, should be wise, and should be a way of life for people. And Europeans are people that approved in this area to these ideas. I think it's rather theoretical.
Genevieve?
I think which is important is that for a very long time Europe has been at the head of the world, and we were conscious of being the most important people in this world. I think it's
Yeah, that's
does-
correct. We were at the head of the world.
Yes,
Yeah,
you
but-
were.
We
Yes.
must now realize that we are not. That's the point,
I
you
think
know?
that's not typical for Europeanism.
No.
I don't
Yes.
think we've got a very good definition
No,
of Europeanism
no.
yet, but
I would
maybe
have said that Europe is in this respect like Switzerland, but without the common aims that lead to unity.
I think we got
And
it.
these common aims, we should have them, because when we face the danger that we have now, when we consider the situation that we have now, then we should unite.
maybe I can help you this way. What's the difference? How can you compare Europeanism, say, and Americanism? Is there any similarity? What is Americanism to you?
Well, that's quite a question. I think that Europeanism is it's been the constant search, for instance, for looking for a way beside the religious belief in God, and that Americanism has taken a lot of Europeanism, but not this.
I would say Americanism is a pell-mell of Europeanism.
Is a parallel of
A
Europeanism?
pell-mell.
Oh, a
something
mixture
else. A
of
mixture.
Europeanism.
No, oh, sorry.
And anybody else?
So, excuse my speaking when you interrupted Christoph. Anyway, I think that America now is just the same thing that Europe was a lot of time ago. Don't you think so?
No, I think
No.
you can't say it.
Oh, no.
There had to be Europeanism to establish Americanism. I think we should get back from saying Americanism is only something bad. I think what Americanism has got from the Europeanism is it has taken away the responsibility in your country, for instance, the loyalty to your government, and the wish and the readiness to cooperate.
There are two Americans in the studio who have looked for the last 5 minutes as if they wanted to get in on this. They're Nina Kran and Bill Osmond. Nina's voice you've already heard today, but you haven't seen her yet. Nina's 16 years old, goes to Staten Island High School, and Bill Osmond is the host. Bill's from Hempstead High, and he's the host for Romano Kunz. What have you been thinking about this discussion, Nina? Do you think Europe's got any future?
Well, I've often wondered if Europe wants a future.
Bill, what have you been thinking about this discussion?
Well, I don't know. Europe, to me, has always, the impression that I've gathered from reading about Europe and everything is that I guess it's a rather typical American impression, but it just seems to me that Europe is more or less of a confused place. That's...
Well, now let's get on to Americanism then, since they've had a chance on both of them. What do you think of when somebody says America to you, Nina? You've lived all over the world as an Army brat, and you've lived in Europe. What do you think of?
Well, yes, I have seen a lot of countries in Europe, and, well, I feel that there's very little hate in America.
Bill, do you think they've given an adequate description of America or Americanism?
Well, I think all Europeans seem to leave out one basic fact in giving their ideas about Americanism. America was founded, and when it was founded, everybody was on an equal basis. Each man was just as important as the other man, and we had a feeling of comradeship and helpfulness. Everybody helped their neighbor, and we were drawn closer together, and as a result, the whole concept was an individualistic one. We have the concept, I guess it's a basic principle of America, it's just ingrained and instilled in us, that the individual is all important. We have respect for everybody. We have respect for people of different countries all over the world. And I heard a remark a while ago. It said the United States had copied Europe, that the United States was just a Europe of so many years ago. Well, I find this is a little hard to say. America is a mixture, which was said before. America, the people, as they have an individualistic outlook, are interested in everybody throughout the world. And we like to take, well, the Asiatics' approach on one matter. We feel that they have the best approach, so we indoctrinate that into our system. If we see that the Swiss people have a good approach to something, we bring that into our thing. And we just take the best of the best.
Now, Bill, let's see if you're converting anybody.
I would like to say that this is typically American because the Americans can adopt different ideas of their neighbor's culture. But we in Europe, not in Switzerland, Switzerland is not a good example for this, but certain nations in Europe cannot seize, they cannot adopt too much from their neighbor's culture, because then they would cease to have their own, they would cease to be itself.
I think
And America is just the opposite of it. America can take the different ideas and
Give
they can
Genevieve a
create
chance.
their own.
Well, I think the main difference between America and Europe is that the Americans have much more hope and belief, and they wish a better world and hope really for it. What we don't, we are so pessimistic, and it's...
But they're making it a little bit too easy, I think. They say, we did it this way, and we have achieved a United States of America. So why don't you do it? Bill said it seems to be to him like a confused place.
Well, now, let's ask Romano
is
a
it not
question in that
confusing?
connection. What would you be willing to give up as a Swiss in order to get European unity? Would you give up Swiss neutrality?
No, we wouldn't give up. Because we are sure that our conception is all right. And we have proved, for instance, Swiss neutrality has proved that it has its advantages. And we are too small even to... Yeah,
Now,
well,
just think. Every of the European countries thinks its system is right. Every country
all
says, we've proved that our system is
Well.
right. And every country says, we think that is right, and so we keep it.
And
you can't say that if you want a
whenever-
Europe.
well,
Europe is a
all right.
compromise.
And when every country in Europe is neutral, for instance, there would be no problem.
Well, if every country in Europe is neutral, of course, But
Yeah.
if every country in Europe is neutral, there's no possibility for united Europe.
Yeah,
Geneviève.
no problem for the United
You
States.
have
From
never-
Russia, you mean?
You have never seen anything like that. A lot of countries being all neutral. Well, what kind
Don't
of
we?
world would that be?
Yeah, that's just what you say. But don't we, for instance, prove that Italians, French, and Germans can live very well together? Don't we prove that?
Now look here.
No, sure.
That is only thing you prove is that language difficulties won't be difficult for a united
languages.
Europe.
Not
That is
only
the only
languages.
thing.
Not only
You don't
languages.
prove that they can live together.
But don't you have
Don't
to
we
be
prove
willing...
that they can live together?
No.
No.
Romano, don't you have to be willing to give up something to get a federation? Doesn't every country have to give up something?
We don't see the necessity to give it up. We don't see the necessity.
So you talked about Europe without being ready to achieve it yourself.
What would Germany give up, Christoph?
Germany would give up, I think,
Nothing.
a great lot of its own national feelings, and would be ready to. It would be ready if it's led by in these feelings to take in European feelings and to adopt them.
Maybe we could give up some of our independence in the economic field. I think that would be the easier way to do it.
Personally, I'm rather inclined to give up everything but the language. I like my language quite quick.
Everybody does, I guess.
And your creed also.
My creed?
Yeah.
Surely not.
Oh, well, that's something else.
You gotta
Well,
keep something. European
No,
unification doesn't mean you give up everything.
No,
Stand
I-
in the basin.
I just say
suits.
because he
It's,
says he was willing to give up everything. Oh, everything.
There's one
Everything is
final
much.
question, and we'll have to go into this more next week. That is, how do you think the growing importance of your former colonies are going to affect the future of Europe? Anybody got a quick answer to that?
Quick answer. Well, I think they'll make the European unification push it forward, because they're you see, if the importance of a country shifts over to another one, and the other country is able to get its importance back, or at least its power back, by going together, by unification. I think that's a way. And the other way, in the economic sphere, and more importance in the colonies, in the former colonies, would bring about a stronger.
I'm sorry,
legal-
that's all the time we've got, Christoph. Next week we'll go into more into detail about the world role of the formerly dependent peoples. We're grateful to you all, and grateful to Scholastic Magazine for helping us in the preparation of the material for tonight's discussion.
This has been The World We Want, a program featuring students from 33 countries from the four corners of the earth. They are spending 3 months in the United States as delegates to the 10th Herald Tribune Forum for High Schools. This program is presented in the public interest by the New York Herald Tribune in cooperation with the Educational Television and Radio Center. Decor for this program was loaned by the Maya Company, New York.